Welcome to Beyond the Barricade, the first in a sort of cast and creatives Q&A section. It's the first of many, hopefully, and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for all your fantastic questions. We've picked just 10 sort of our favourites to get the ball rolling anyway, and I'm the first subject for this, so here we go. Now, the first one is from Justin Lanata, and the question is, what was your first reaction and the first person, or the first person you called when you got offered the role of Jean Valjean? Right, my first reaction was obviously delight and excitement because Les Miserables was my first ever job back in 1993, and it was such a big deal for me because I was a furniture maker by trade, and all of a sudden I was cast in this wonderful show. And so coming back and playing Valjean has always been sort of the pinnacle of what I always wanted to do. So I was so delighted when I first got asked to audition for Cameron Mackintosh, and then to get the phone call the same day to say you've got it. And I was actually in the airport on my way home to Ireland, and as soon as I got the phone call, the first person I called was my then wife-to-be, who is now my wife. So is my wife Katie. So there you go. First question, thank you very much, Justin. Second question is from Izzy Pittman. Now, as Jean Valjean, out of the songs you sing, which do you think is the hardest? That's a good question. They're all really hard, in a lovely way. I think I enjoy singing them all of them so much, but I think coming back to it a second time for me, Bringing Home's harder, not because it's hard to sing, but because there's more to it now, because it's been such a... It's a more well-known song than ever was before because of Alfie Boe and because of the 25th anniversary and all that. It's the song everyone's waiting to hear, that and I Dreamed a Dream, of course, because of Susan Boyle. So I think that's probably the hardest one, because the moment you open your mouth, you're aware that everyone's kind of dying to hear your version and what you do. So thank you, Izzy, for that. Next question. Sarah Powell has asked, what is the most embarrassing thing you have done on stage? Well, apart from turning up for work, I've had a couple of things. When I was in Martin Guerre, which is another Boublil and Schoenberg musical produced by Cameron Mackintosh, I was walking backwards in one of the dance numbers and someone bent over behind me and I went flying over the back of them and looked rather hysterical. And also in Miss Saigon, again, another Boublil and Schoenberg show, I forgot the words of Why God Why, so I spent, I think, an entire verse making stuff up and nobody noticed. There you go, so that's another question there from Sarah, thank you very much. Now, Gordon Horn has a question, and it's, what do you think Les Miserables has that has made it run for so long? And how much longer do you think it will last? Well, I think what makes this show what it is, it's epic, and it's got heart. It's unlike any musical I've ever worked on, and I've been lucky to work on a lot, and it's got heart that most musicals don't have, and that's not saying anything against other musicals, but it's got something about it that other shows don't have. It's got heart, it's got such an epic nature, there's so much to it that if you come back and see it a second, or third, or fourth, or fifth, or 100th time, you constantly get something from it, no matter what. You're always discovering something new in it because there's so much in it. There's so much depth of character from anyone from ensemble to to Jean Valjean. How much longer do you think it'll last? As long as people want that. I can't see this show going anywhere. It's had a wonderful rebirth in the last few years because of Susan Boyle's I Dreamed a Dream, and then of course the 25th anniversary, Alfie Boe being in it, Matt Lucas, Nick Jonas, all these people coming into it have really given the show another a new audience as well, a younger audience too. The dynamic, or whatever it is, of people coming to see the show is quite incredible now. The audiences have changed even since I've been coming to it, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be here for a very long time. Right, next, okay, you're going to excuse me for any really bad pronunciations. This is from Pieta Runkainen, I think, hopefully. Thank you for your question. You've played Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera, and now you've returned to play Jean Valjean. Which role do you prefer and why? I'm going to have to say, not because I'm in it, I'm going to have to say Jean Valjean, because the show has a lot of history for me, because as I said, it was my first ever job. It's also, for me as an actor, a wonderful sort of arc to play. The gradual aging and his story starting off a bit more like myself and then becoming this slower, older man, and it's so beautiful to play. It really is, and there's so much dynamic as an actor to play in this. It's wonderful. It's probably my favourite roles I think I've ever played and will ever play. Thank you for that, Pieta. Okay, another tricky name, and I apologise. This is from Luke Banasiewicz, I think. What's the trickiest part of the show in playing Valjean? Well, apart from pronouncing your name, the trickiest part, I'd say maybe is, I mean, it's a well-oiled machine at this point, and for me, because I played it before and I'm coming back into the show again, or back in the show again, should I say, probably the quick changes. There's a quick change from the prologue, where I go from being a convict from complete convict outfit with long ratty wig and dirt all over me into the mayor's costume at the end of the day, and that's only a couple of verses of music, and you have a complete costume change, complete wig change, and I have to grade my beard up as well. So that's probably the trickiest. And there's another one later on, going into the Paris scene after I collect Cosette when she's a small child, and that's a very quick change as well. I have to get older again. And it's a full costume change. The other trickiest things, I mean, I've never had, touch wood, I've never had a problem with them yet, but if anything goes wrong, you have such a limited time to get it right. So if it goes wrong, it can go drastically wrong, so it can be a bit of a panic if things go wrong. But I'd say it's probably the trickiest part of the show. Thank you very much, Luke. Okay, another question. This is from Joe Stanek. What advice would you give to a young actor aspiring to play your role someday? Work on your stamina, I think, would be a good one. It's a very, very physical role. It's vocally very demanding. It's physically very demanding. And I think what makes this role unique, it's a wonderful acting role. Even if you took away the music, it's a beautiful acting role. So, you know, you want to work on that side as much as you want to work on the singing, but you need to be confident in both, I think, to play Valjean. You know, we all want to hear someone sing pretty, but if the words aren't followed by good acting or someone who's involved, it doesn't mean as much, I think. So I think that's my own advice would be to one, work on your stamina because it's so demanding, and two, you know, make sure that, you know, do some good plays, you know, do some great monologues, and learn that side of the business as much as learn singing a song, because you're constantly learning. And watch other people. I'm a big fan. I always say you can learn something from someone who's just started the business and someone who's been in the business 60, 70, 80 years. You know, you're just always watching and learning how people approach things is always really interesting. And watch other actors act. Thank you, Joe. Now, next question is from Marie Vast. If you could play any role in any musical, what would it be? I've been really lucky. I've played most of the roles I ever wanted to play, with Valjean being the top of the list, and maybe Sweeney and Macbeth being two of the others. And but I think if I was to play anything else now, sadly it's a role I couldn't play now, and that's I always wanted to play Tony in West Side Story. It's one of my favourite musicals. It's a beautiful score and a beautiful story, and I always wanted to play Tony, but just it was never around when I was around. I was always doing something if it came up, so, which is always a good thing to be in work. But I think it was that. And apart from that, if there was something I'd really like to play as well, probably I wouldn't mind having a crack at Javert. Actually, I think it's a wonderful part, and it's always been a part. Actually, when I originally came in and auditioned for this a few years ago, after being in the ensemble, I actually auditioned for Javert first, not Valjean. So there you go. Next question. This is from Claire Slater. How difficult is it to sing whilst carrying Marius, and how much training do you need beforehand? Luckily enough, Craig, who is our Marius right now, and also Fra, who's the understudy, are both really nice and small, so they're quite easy to carry. So they don't make it. It doesn't make it too difficult. When I first did the show, I had someone who was a bit about my height, so it made it a bit harder. But then again, it still wasn't hard, because if you carry someone properly, and if they carry themselves properly, it's not as hard as you think. And so again, it's like my last thing I said about you know, things to work on is stamina. You know, being able to stamina and being fit. It's amazing how fit you need to be when you're running around and carrying people. So I think I think when it comes to training, going to the gym, I think, is and rehearsals. So my last and final question is from Steph Watkins. What's the best thing about working in musical theatre? Wow. The best thing about working in musical theatre, variety for me. It's my passion. Someone once said to me, and I've used it a lot, and it's an old saying. It's if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I utterly believe in that, because I do thoroughly enjoy what I do. We all have good days and bad days, but I still love what I do. And there is this wonderful sense of variety in musical theatre, and I'm feeding two of my major passions, which is singing and acting at the same time. So I think, for me, that's what the best thing. And for somebody else, it's something different. It's also a wonderful social side too. You get to meet great people. I've got lots of friends I've met over the years, and you're constantly meeting new people because you're in a new show. When you're working, it's great. So I think that was it. So that was my last question. Thank you very much for all these brilliant questions. It's been a real treat to be the first subject for the Q&A for Beyond the Barricades, and I'll hopefully see you again soon. Thank you.